Let me ask you something. Do you think your retirement is safest when you're close to the finish line? When you're finally 60 or 62 or 64 and just a couple of years away from the big day? Because that's what most people seem to think. They believe that the hard part is over, that the danger is now behind them. But that's exactly why so many smart, successful people make devastating mistakes during these years. Mistakes that could wreck the retirement that they worked decades to build. I'm going to show you why ages 60 to 65 are actually the most dangerous years of your entire retirement journey. And more importantly, I'll walk you through how to survive those years with your finances and your future fully intact. So here's the thing. When you're in your early 60s, it feels like the pressure's finally off. You build up your nest egg. The kids are probably out of the house. The mortgage is mostly paid down. And for many, work starts to look really optional. But this is what I call the retirement illusion. Just because the temperature's been turned down on the pressure cooker that is raising kids and starting to save for retirement and all of the expenses that come along with it doesn't mean that you're on easy street yet. This is kind of like climbing down a mountain after a long hike. Most people think that the danger is in the climb up, but the majority of injuries actually happen on the way down, when your guard is down, when your legs are tired, when you're not paying as much attention. Retirement works the same way. The 5-year window from 60 to 65 or so, it's filled with traps, financial ones, emotional ones, behavioral ones. Let me show you what they are. So the first thing, let's talk about one of the biggest portfolio mistakes I see from people in their early 60s. They stay way too aggressive, way too close to retirement. Been seeing this a lot lately with people. And look, I get it. Stocks have performed incredibly well over the long run. You probably heard some version of just ride it out. The market always comes back. And that's been true eventually. But nobody ever said that it has to come back quickly. And that's the part that most people forget. Let me take you back in time to the dot-com crash. Not that long ago. The market peaked in 2000 and then it dropped 3 years in a row, 2000, 2001, 2002. If you were 61 back then and you were planning to retire at 65, your portfolio just got kicked in the teeth. And here's the real kicker. It took the S&P 500 about 7 years to get back to its pre-crash peak. Here's how that plays out in real life. If that was you, 61 when the bubble popped, planning to retire at 64 or 65, but you didn't even break even, get back to where you were until 68, what did that really cost you? We've gotten a little spoiled. Markets have bounced back fast in recent years, but there's no rule that says that that will always happen. And so if you're sitting there watching the video right now and you're 5 or so years away from retirement and you're still really heavily invested for growth, you have to ask yourself what you're risking for a chance at that potential growth. Because if we have another market like what happened in the early 2000s, you could end up spending the early, most active years of your retirement not retired at all, still working and waiting for the portfolio to catch up. These are what we all call the go-go years, when your health, your freedom, your energy, it's all still aligned. It's all come together for this awesome time. You don't want to spend those years in a financial timeout, crossing your fingers that the markets recover so that you can go ahead and get on with the stage of your life you've been waiting for all of these years. I say it all the time. We don't have control over the stock market and what it does. And so you absolutely cannot allow the market to dictate the terms of your retirement. You got to take back the control. Now, that doesn't mean abandoning growth, but it does mean getting real strategic about your risk and setting up a retirement income plan that protects your lifestyle, even if the market takes a break. One solution that we use with clients for this is a bucket plan that creates a moat between your near-term income money, what you need to live on, and your long-term growth money. That helps protect your retirement from the whims of the stock market. By the way, if this kind of clear, plain English advice is helpful to you, hit the subscribe button. That's helpful to me. We got a nice channel going on here, all full of stuff designed to help you plan the retirement that you deserve. Let's keep going. Now, the danger in this next part isn't about the numbers. There's a psychological shift that happens between 60 and 65 that nobody warns you about. For decades, at least part of your identity has been tied to your work, your routine, your relevance in society. Your friends, or at least the people you spend most of your waking hours with, are the people that you work with. And then, boom, it all stops. You're staring at a blank calendar. There's no meetings. There's no deadlines. There's no structure. And that freedom sounds kind of awesome. It can feel like a free fall if you haven't planned for it. This is what I've seen. And I say this having seen hundreds of retirements. People panic. They second guess their decision to retire, or they fill the gap by overspending, or they freeze and they underspend because they're afraid they're going to run out and the paycheck stopped. This is where having a clear, purpose-driven retirement plan makes all the difference. It's not just about the money. It's about knowing why you're retiring and how to fund that lifestyle that you want without being all full of fear. A few ways to shift your thinking here. Think in terms of retiring to something, not just retiring from something. Unless you full-blown hate your work, just not having to work isn't specifically solving a problem. And so what are you retiring to, and what does that actually look like? Here's how you can do it. Start a note in your phone. Go into your app and start a note. The retirement wish list note. Now, this isn't about money and how much it'll cost to do these things. Open it up and open your mind to start thinking about what you'd like to do in retirement. Ask yourself that question. What would I like to do? And start filling up your phone. Maybe it's joining a walking club. Maybe it's seeing the national parks. Maybe it's taking the grandkids on a vacation every year to somewhere that's very special to you. Maybe it's joining a pickleball league. Maybe it's volunteering at a local charity. The truth is, it doesn't matter what the things in the note are. What matters is that they are important to you. And then take that list and start doing a little Googling. Start to fill in the blanks of what that retirement can become. That way, as you approach that time, you get close. You aren't walking into an abyss, a black hole. You're walking toward a purpose-filled life that you designed just for you. Now let's look at some of the common but very avoidable mistakes that I see all the time happening in this window. First off, claiming Social Security too early. Many people just jump at 62 without realizing that they're locking in a permanently reduced benefit and giving up some potential spousal strategies. I've done a few videos about this recently. If this is something that you're wrestling with, go on ahead and watch them. And don't mishear me. I like taking Social Security early, but I like taking it that way in the context of a good plan. The next one is getting too conservative too soon. Now, I know this sounds like the opposite of what I just said earlier about being too aggressive, but this is one of those Goldilocks porridge situations. You don't want too aggressive and you don't want too conservative. I've seen lots of folks move everything into bonds and cash in the lead up to retirement, thinking that they're playing it safe. Here's the problem with that thinking. Over 25 or 30 years, over a full retirement, if that's your strategy, inflation's going to eat your lunch because the value of your money is very unlikely to keep up with the cost of living. Separate out your assets. Have some growth money to help you in the future. Have some steady money to be there for you today. That's why we create bucket plans inside the Clear Vision Retirement Plan, by the way. And then there's one of the biggest silent killers, and that's taking money from the wrong accounts when you actually get to retirement without a smart tax plan. You could pay way more than you need to in taxes. There's lots of retirees that end up overpaying Uncle Sam simply by withdrawing from the wrong place in the wrong order. Make sure that your retirement plan doesn't just account for how the money's invested, but it accounts for taxes and your lifetime tax liability, not just what taxes you're going to pay this year. Here's the kicker on all of these mistakes. These all happen early on at the start of retirement when the stakes are the highest and the mistakes compound the fastest. All of this and about 100 other things is why I help people build retirement plans through the Clear Vision Retirement Plan process. It's a step-by-step plan that helps you go from what if to, okay, I can do that, so that you can retire and stay retired on your own terms. If you're within 5 years of retirement, or if you're already there and you don't have a solid plan, you're just kind of winging it, and you want help designing your own Clear Vision Retirement Plan, you can set up a chat. Find out how the process works by using the first link in the description down below. Remember, retirement isn't a finish line. It's a starting point to maybe the most awesome time in your life. And the 5 years from 60 to 65, the decisions that you make in those years will have an impact on the next 20 or 30 years after it. So make sure that you make good decisions while you're educating yourself on all this stuff. I got something you can't afford to miss right over here. It's packed with strategies to help you retire smarter. Go on ahead over and check it out.